Hey guys, welcome to this video where we are going to go over the pronunciation part of the speaking section. So we've covered oral fluency and now we're going to look at pronunciation. So pronunciation is scored on a scale of 0 to 5, and let's look at what Pearson say is a score that's rated as 5 in the speaking section for pronunciation. So all vowels and consonants are produced in a manner that's easily understood by regular speakers of the language. The speaker uses assimilation and deletions appropriate to continuous speech. Stress is placed correctly on all words and sentence level stress is fully appropriate. So that was a long definition, but let's try to break each and every one of those parameters. So firstly, we look at assimilations and deletions and try to understand what they mean. So an assimilation is when words are combined during normal continuous speech, and a deletion is when words are eliminated during continuous speech. So as you speak in English, sometimes especially when you're speaking in a conversational rate of speech, which is what we are looking to do, sometimes you have a clubbing together of words where you add certain words together and you do not pronounce words in isolation. So let's look at an example. So let's take the sentence, he told his son to do as he wishes. Now in this sentence, if I speak it very slowly, I'll say he told his son to do as he wishes. So his son is pronounced separately when I speak it slowly, but if I'm speaking at a conversational rate of speech, I say he told his son to do as he wishes, and the part his son is kind of produced as his son. He told his son. It's kind of pronounced as one word rather than his and son. So this clubbing together of words is called an assimilation, where you combine words together. Another example is, did he tell you what to do? So in this word, did he is not pronounced as did, and he, it's kind of said as one, as did he pronounce you what, did he tell you what to do? So this kind of adding or combining words in normal speech as you speak is called an assimilation and deletion. Doing the above leads to a more faster and natural rate of speech, which is what Pearson is looking for. Now, you might be wondering, okay, how do I ensure that this is part of my speech? You do not need to do anything special. There's only one thing that you need to take care of, is your rate of speech. So if I speak the sentence at a very slow rate of speech, did he tell you what to do? Automatically, I'm going to take more time to pronounce each word, and I'm not going to have that clubbing together of sounds. But if I speak it in a shorter amount of time, did he tell you what to do, then automatically that did he and those assimilations that we're looking for is taken care of. So again, even in pronunciation, oral fluency plays a very important part. So like I said, if there's one thing you can focus on to improve your speaking score, it is improving your rate of speech and having a conversational rate of speech. Yeah, so just focusing on your rate of speech can help you even improve your pronunciation to a certain extent, especially for this particular point that Pearson is looking for. Next, they look at word stress. So this is, are you stressing on the correct part of a word? So let's take an example. Now let's look at the word computer. So when I say computer, there is normally a slight stress on the PU part of the word computer. An incorrect way of pronouncing it would be computer, where I'm stressing on the first part of the word. So computer, which is correct, which is computer, which is incorrect. So Pearson is looking for these kind of places where you're stressing correctly on a particular word, and if you stress incorrectly, that can go against you. Also keep in mind that reading a word does not necessarily mean that you know the correct meaning, a correct pronunciation of the word. I personally struggled with this a lot. Like when you read a word, you pronounce it in your head in a certain way, and you think, okay, this is the correct way to pronounce it. But unless you listen to that word being said by a native speaker or with the correct pronunciation, that's the only time where you actually understand, okay, what does this word sound like? So a personal example would be the word atheist. So atheist means a person who does not believe in God. Now, I remember this particular word. I was playing a game with my cousins where you pull out cards and they ask you a question and you need to answer. It's like a trivia game. So the question was, what do you call a person who does not believe in God? Now, I knew that I read this word like atheist, but I didn't know how to pronounce it. So I was like atheist or atheist, and my cousin started laughing because that was the incorrect pronunciation of the word, and I didn't know the correct pronunciation. Then they told, hey, it's not atheist, it's like atheist. And once I heard that, that's when I knew, okay, that's the correct pronunciation of the word. So just because I read it many times before, like the word atheist, as I was reading books, but in my head I was like, atheist is the correct pronunciation, but when I actually listen to it, it's like atheist. So make sure that you listen when you learn a new word. Also check out the pronunciation for that word, and I'm going to show you a quick way to do it in the next slide. Yeah, if you listen to good English, it's automatically going to take care of this because you're listening to the correct pronunciation of the word, and that's when you know the correct pronunciation of the word. So what I do is I use Google to check pronunciation. You don't need any fancy app, you just need Google. Nowadays you can do everything with Google. So I'm going to quickly show you how it's done. So take for example the word determine. So what I do is I just put determine pronunciation, and as you do that, Google gives you the okay. If I type determine meaning, hopefully yes. So Google gives you the pronunciation of the word. If you click on this, so determine, I'm not sure if you can listen to that, but if you just click on that, it gives you the pronunciation of the word. It shows you how the word is used in a sentence. It gives you synonym of the word. It gives you the meaning of the word, and it gives you everything that you need to know to ensure that you learn that word correctly. And what I also recommend is, as you're learning new words, do not just practice saying the word by itself. For example, determine, do not just say the word determine, use it in a sentence. So read it aloud in a sentence. Say, it will be her mental attitude that determines her future. So use it in a sentence, and once you do that a couple of times, you'll have like few sentences that you can use off Google. That's when the correct pronunciation gets embedded in yourself, because you can pronounce a word by itself, but once you use it in a sentence, that's when it really gets embedded in you. So simply use Google for any new word that you come across and you're not sure what the pronunciation is. Use Google, listen to it, and you'll get the correct pronunciation. Yes, so obviously you can't do that for every single word, but whenever you do get a word for the first time, I recommend going through that practice. Now, other than your word stress, including your word stress, there's also a native language influence that can impact your pronunciation. Now, different people growing up in different parts of the world where English is not their first language will have a particular influence from their native language. So I'll give you a couple of examples. So people in the Middle East or in the Gulf regions have issues with pronouncing the word with the S sound. So they say, instead of where you have the word it is, they'll say it is. Some people have that issue. In India, you have people who have trouble with the Z sound. So instead of saying the word zero, they say jiro. And it varies as per the different regions. So in some parts of India, people say the word snakes instead of snacks. So depending on which part of the world you are and which region you are from, you will have certain influences from your mother tongue that you carry as you speak English as well. Now this is a really vast topic, pronunciation, and to correct these native tongue influences that you have, it takes a lot of time and training on a one-on-one basis for you to correct that. But when it comes specifically to the PTE exam, I do not recommend focusing on pronunciation, because we've seen that if you just focus on oral fluency, that is usually enough for most people to cross a 79 plus score in the PTE academic exam. So just if you focus on oral fluency and take care of that and make sure that you are taking care of those aspects, usually you don't need to focus on pronunciation or correcting these native tongue influences unless it's like very bad for you, unless you have a very strong native influence, right? But I would recommend people to fix their pronunciation, especially if you're someone who's currently outside of Australia and you're moving to Australia for the first time. You might have different issues in your pronunciation that you were not aware of, and I recommend doing a accent neutralization program that can help you reduce that. I personally did that when I was moving from India to Australia. Just before moving, a couple of months, I did accent reduction, and as I was doing that course, I came to know issues that I didn't know that I have. For example, personally for me, I had problems with the p and the t sound. So for example, it is a very powerful technique. Normally when you say the word per, you have a burst of air, such as per, powerful, but I used to pronounce it as powerful. It is a very powerful technique. That's the way I used to say it before, but as I did an accent evaluation, I got an evaluation where they gave me an assessment of the words that I had. I didn't have a native, I had like a mother tongue influence in my speech, and we kind of did some exercises to correct that. So I'd recommend that to you as well, but for this PTE exam, do not work on it because it's something that takes time, and maybe before you're moving to Australia you can do that. The institute or the trainer that I was working with agreed to do like a free session where they go over some sample text and they pinpoint to you the words that you have difficulty in pronouncing. So I'll put a link somewhere in case you want to do that at a later point. All right. So just some benefits, like when I move here and when I speak after doing the accent reduction program, when I tell people that I've just moved here, they're like, no way, you don't have like a typical accent from the place that you're from. You seem to have a very neutral accent, and they're able to understand me much more in a much more better way, and that can have like a significant impact in the way when you like communicate with people. It just helps having a neutral accent. That does not mean you necessarily need to have like the accent from the region you're from, but you just need to kind of work to eliminate the previous kind of influences from your mother tongue. If you can reduce that, that's like good enough when it comes to like communicating with people. So I'd recommend that as well. There's some final tips on the speaking section before we go into individual topics. Make sure that you use hand gestures as you're speaking. So you might have noticed that as I speak, I tend to like move my hand a bit. Now that helps me to be more fluent. So I'd recommend trying that as well. As you're giving answers for the describe image, try to move your hands in a natural way. So I just keep my hands here and I move them as I speak, and I'm more fluent as I do that. So try that out. It helps with oral fluency. Just in general for the speaking section, make sure you're focusing on the oral fluency part specifically for the exam, and doing that is where we've seen people improve in a short amount of time with the best results. So that's it for this introduction to the speaking section. So we went over oral fluency, where we talked about how it's important to keep control on the pauses and your speed, and also the number of corrections and hesitations that you have. We went over pronunciation, where we talked about assimilation, the clubbing together of words, your rate of speech, how that is important in pronunciation as well, word stress and how to look up correct words on Google. And we also talked about how if you have some deeper pronunciation issues, it's something that you can fix at a later stage as well. That's it for this video. I'll see you guys in the next videos where we are going to look at individual topics of the speaking section. See you soon.